Rain lashed the old Jeep, blurring the headlights. Thomas, a man hardened by years of chasing shadows as a private investigator, gripped the steering wheel. Beside him, Evelyn, a librarian more comfortable among dusty tomes than desolate landscapes, clutched a worn leather-bound book. In the back, Mick, his calloused hands betraying his life as a mechanic, nervously checked his tools, an odd comfort in this unsettling situation. They were bound by a common thread: Daniel Carter. Thomas had been hired to find him. Evelyn was Daniel's sister, her usual calm replaced by a gnawing fear. Mick, Daniel's oldest friend, couldn't shake the feeling of wrongness that clung to his disappearance. There only led a dilapidated farmhouse nestled in the isolated, storm-battered region known as Bleak Inlet. The rain intensified as they pulled up to the farmhouse, the headlights illuminating the ramshackle structure. Its silhouette loomed against the stormy sky, a jagged, skeletal outline that seemed to claw at the darkness.
"You sure this is the place?"
Mick's voice was tight with apprehension. Evelyn simply nodded, her gaze fixed on the house. Each of them could feel it, a palpable aura of dread clinging to the place. The front door creaked open on rusty hinges as if disturbed after years of silence. A gust of wind, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic, swept into the house, sending shivers down their spines. The air inside was thick with the weight of ages, filled with the whispers of decay and the ghosts of forgotten memories. Thomas, ever the pragmatist, pulled out a flashlight, the beam cutting through the oppressive darkness. Cobwebs hung like macabre decorations, and dust lay thick on every surface. The only sounds were the howling wind outside and the unsettling groan of the old house settling around them.
"Let's split up. Evelyn, you check upstairs. Mick, the basement. I'll search this floor."
His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken dread. The silence that followed was broken only by the pounding of their hearts. Evelyn, clutching the leather-bound book like a shield, cautiously made her way up the creaking staircase, each step a testament to the house's decay. Mick, armed with a crowbar and his unease, descended into the basement, the darkness below seeming to swallow the light from his flashlight. Thomas, his senses alert, began his search of the ground floor, every shadow a potential hiding place, every creak a whispered threat. Upstairs, Evelyn's flashlight beam danced across dusty furniture and faded portraits of people with hauntingly vacant eyes. She stopped in a room at the end of the hall, drawn by an unnatural chill. The air here was different, colder, heavier. A sense of dread washed over her as she noticed strange symbols etched into the floorboards, symbols that seemed vaguely familiar from the book clutched in her hand. Meanwhile, Mick found himself in the damp, oppressive darkness of the basement. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay, the only light emanating from his shaking hand. He stumbled over something hard and metallic. Lowering his flashlight, he saw an assortment of tools, not the kind used for fixing cars. These were crude, sharp, and stained a disturbing shade of brown. Thomas, his search of the ground floor proving fruitless, heard a muffled cry from above. He rushed towards the sound, his heart pounding against his ribs. As he reached the top of the stairs, he saw Evelyn standing in the doorway of the room at the end of the hall, her face pale with terror.
"Thomas, there's something here."
The room was a nightmare. A single flickering candle cast grotesque shadows on the walls, illuminating more of the strange symbols etched everywhere. A large, ancient-looking book lay open on a makeshift altar, its pages filled with disturbing illustrations of hooded figures and arcane rituals. The metallic scent Thomas had noticed earlier was stronger here, tinged with something else, something sickeningly sweet.
"Daniel," he choked out. "He was researching things, cults, rituals, this place." It was clear that whatever Daniel had stumbled upon, it was something dark and dangerous.
As they examined the room, a low growl echoed from the hallway, a guttural sound that seemed to slither up from some primal abyss. The air grew colder, the shadows seeming to writhe and pulse with a life of their own. The hairs on the back of their necks stood on end, a primal instinct warning them of unseen danger. They were not alone. The growl escalated into a guttural snarl, the sound sending chills down their spines. Something dark and malevolent was stalking them, its presence growing stronger with each passing second. Panic edged into their fear.
"We need to get out of here," Thomas hissed, his hand instinctively reaching for the gun holstered at his hip.
They rushed towards the doorway, only to find it sealed shut, an unseen force holding it fast. Mick threw his weight against the door, but it wouldn't budge. They were trapped, the farmhouse a prison with a predator closing in. The temperature plummeted, the air growing heavy and oppressive. The candle on the altar sputtered and died, plunging the room into absolute darkness. A cold, clammy hand brushed against Evelyn's cheek, and she screamed, the sound echoing through the house like a death knell. The entity was toying with them, savoring their fear. Adrenaline surged through Thomas. He fired 2 shots at the door, the sound deafening in the confined space. The wood splintered, and with a final desperate push, they broke free, tumbling into the hallway. The entity roared in fury, its presence a suffocating wave of malice. They scrambled through the darkness, the house seemingly working against them, the layout shifting and twisting, turning their escape into a terrifying maze. They could hear the entity close behind, its rasping breath echoing in the darkness. Finally, they stumbled upon the front door, a beacon of hope in the nightmare.
Thomas threw his weight against it, the old lock splintering.
They spilled out into the storm, the rain a welcome relief from the horror within. But as they huddled together, catching their breath, they saw a figure standing on the porch, silhouetted against the storm. It was Daniel, his eyes vacant, his face emotionless. He tilted his head, a chilling smile spreading across his lips.
"You shouldn't have come here," he whispered, his voice raspy and unfamiliar.
Then, as quickly as he appeared, Daniel was gone, swallowed by the storm and the shadows. The farmhouse loomed behind them, silent and menacing, holding its secrets close. They had escaped with their lives, but they knew the horror was far from over. The whispers in the dark lingered, promising more terror to come. What had happened to Daniel? What dark force had taken root in that isolated farmhouse? The questions lingered, unanswered, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of their reality. They had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back.